It is the fourth round of the AFC World Cup qualifiers to Qatar. It is the UAE taking on Australia, who will be taking on Peru in the Intercontinental Playoff first spot in the World Cup this year. A match that maybe doesn't seem 50-50, but it seems 50-50 with the way Australia are playing at the moment, and the UAE can be confident heading into this matchup. But I want to hear your opinions in the comment section down below. Who do you think will be taking on Peru later next week? Will it be the UAE or will it be Australia? Let me know in the comment section down below. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. And further ado, let's get to the prediction of the AFC fourth round playoff. Let's start with the UAE, right? This side, following the AFC World Cup qualifiers, are not a pretty sight to watch. They don't concede a lot of goals. They don't score a lot of goals. In 10 games during the AFC third round group stage, they had scored 7 goals and conceded 7 goals in 10 matches, with Ali Makbout getting 3 goals out of the 7. So he is obviously the danger man, with a ridiculous 80 goals in 104 appearances for the UAE national team. So I think Australia definitely have to keep him quiet. It's going to be hard keeping Ali Makbout quiet in this matchup. But if we look at the manager of the UAE, Rodolfo Arwa Barrena, who has experience of managing in the Middle East, he's a good manager, former Boca Juniors manager, former Boca Juniors player, took over obviously Bert van Marwijk. Obviously the UAE made a decision, said, all right, we need to go somewhere else if we want to push to qualify to the World Cup. And that's something that the UAE Federation said, all right, let's make the bold move. In came Rodolfo, they pushed through, they got the win over South Korea, which guaranteed their spot in this fourth round. The UAE actually have qualified in the past to the World Cup. 1990, their only ever appearance. Obviously, other players to watch out on the UAE would be Cao Canedo, obviously the other forward for the UAE. Let's see if he happens. He hasn't played in a long time for the UAE. Omar Abdul Rahman, the left-footed maestro from the UAE. He hasn't played for a long time for the national team. Obviously, in the back, you have Walid Abbas, you have Bander Al-Habib. So, the UAE actually have a lot of experience. And then when you have Ali Makbout, they know what their game plan is going to be, right? They're going to allow Australia to dictate possession, let them control the game, and the UAE hit them on the counterattack. And the UAE have shown that they can be very good defensively and get the 1 or 2 goals and win that matchup. So I think that's something that Australia have to be worried about, because I think if the UAE get the 1-0 lead in this game, it could be over, because you just don't see them conceding in this matchup. So I think, and especially with this game being in Qatar, let's see if there's a good home crowd maybe for the UAE, spur them on and win this game. So let's get to Australia. Oh, the Socceroos. It ain't looking good. This is a side that have made 4 straight World Cups. But they don't look like a World Cup team at the moment. Graham Arnold, you could say, should he have been sacked? Should he still be in the job? A lot of questions around him and his tactical, his squad choices. Graham Arnold is under massive, massive pressure. If he doesn't qualify to the World Cup, he's a guaranteed sack. There's no doubt about that. Because some of his decision-making during these World Cup qualifiers are very baffling. And some of the results for Australia during these World Cup qualifiers are baffling as well. A 1-1 draw away with China, a 2-2 draw away with Oman, being absolutely obliterated by Japan. Yes, it was only 2-0, but Japan completely dominated the game and should have won 4 or 5-0. Australia have been very disappointing in these World Cup qualifiers. Yes, there's not the same talent pool as before, but you still expect this side to be doing much better than what they're doing at the moment. You look at players like Mitchell Duke, you look at Martin Boyle, Jamie McLaren, Awer Mabil, Aydin Huristik, who obviously won the Europa League with Eintracht Frankfurt. There's a quality in this team. But I just look at Graham Arnold as a manager. Is he just that guy? Is he just the biggest problem with this team? You obviously have Aaron Moy in the midfield, still very good, even at 31. He's going to have to be a key player for them. I just wonder for Australia, Graham Arnold's got to get this right. And he must tell the players. I think they just had a game, if I'm not mistaken, against Jordan or Kuwait. You guys can let me know in the comments, obviously, who they played against. But I heard it wasn't the greatest performance either. Still lacking creativity, where they were just crossing into the box. And that's been the problem for them. Sometimes in these World Cup qualifiers, it's been frustrating because there's no creativity. So the key thing for Australia is the lineup choice, and then you must take the game to the UAE. Like I said for the UAE and for their preview, if you allow that side to go 1-0 up, the Socceroos, your dream is over for making it to a 5th straight World Cup. So that is the key for Graham Arnold. He needs to get his side absolutely motivated and straight off the gates in the first minute. Press the UAE, frustrate them, and get an early goal to really open the game up. I think that if it's an open game, Australia can win this game. But if it's a game where the UAE just sit back and be defensive and allow Australia to try and break them down, I think the Socceroos can get frustrated. So I'm a little bit worried for Australia. I really am. I think this is now, they're in the downfall of the federation. There isn't the same talent pool, but they can still qualify to the World Cup. It's a one-game playoff. If they even win this game, it's still a one-game playoff against Peru. So it's not over. And the players have to believe. You still have Matty Ryan in goal. Very good goalkeeper. Will he have a lot of work to do in this game? I don't think so. I think the UAE will probably have 1 or 2 shots on target, and that's about it. But he's got to be on point in this matchup. So let's get to the prediction. So my prediction for the game. I don't think there's going to be a lot of goals in this game, as we can see with the UAE. And Australia have been frustrating at times. Do I think the UAE have enough with Ali Mahmoud to win this match? And Kau? I don't think so. I do think this is going to go to penalties, though. I think I could see this being a 0-0 and going into penalties. I really do. So it's a matter who wins the penalties. I think I'll give it to Australia. I think Australia will win on penalties. It will be 0-0 heading into extra time. It will be 0-0 after extra time, and then it will be determined on penalties where the Socceroos will win, and they will face Peru for a spot in the World Cup. It ain't going to be a pretty match. Let me just say that right now. But best of luck to both teams, and let's see who will be taking on Peru in the following week. So there's my prediction. I think Australia will win on penalties after being at 0-0 for 120 minutes. And I'll say it once again, it ain't gonna be pretty. But the main thing is getting the job done. And Graham Arnold must get the job done, or he will be sacked the very next morning. I think for the UAE, it's been a very good performance throughout these World Cup qualifiers, lacking goal scoring, but they can take some positives heading into the 2026 World Cup, where the AFC will have more spots. But they can definitely win this game. I wouldn't even be surprised if they won 1-0. But that is my prediction, guys. I want to hear your prediction in the comment section down below. Who will be taking on Peru in the coming weeks? Let me know in the comment section down below. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. And further ado, have a beautiful day. Stay safe, everyone. And adios.